You've died before. You just forgot when you came back. And in this video, I'll reveal what your soul sees and feels right after leaving the body, according to real accounts and profound revelations. Get ready for a journey that will change the way you see life, death, and everything you thought you knew. Maybe you've felt it before. An inexplicable nostalgia, as if something precious had been forgotten. A place you've never seen, yet it feels familiar. A peace that visits you in dreams, like an invisible home calling you back. What if I told you that sensation has an explanation? And deep down, you already know what's on the other side, but chose to forget, so you could live this experience as if it were the first time. Today we're going to remember together. Not death as an ending, but as a return. A reconnection with what you are behind the name, the skin, the stories. Because when you remember death, you start remembering life for real. And when that happens, nothing stays the same. Are you ready to remember? Seth, the consciousness channeled by Jane Roberts, states it clearly. You have died many times and you are still alive. According to him, death is not the opposite of life, but a return to your natural state of existence. Pure consciousness, free from the limitations of the physical body. For Seth, the transition is gentle and illuminated. There is no punishment, no judgment, only clarity. It's like waking up from a dream and remembering, that's who I was. And now I am everything again. This view dismantles the fear of death and reveals the soul as eternal. It chooses to be born, to die, and to be reborn the way someone chooses a new setting to keep learning. Life isn't linear, it's a sacred cycle. Dr. Raymond Moody, author of the classic Life Afterlife, researched hundreds of accounts from people who underwent what we call a near-death experience, NDE. The pattern is strikingly consistent. A sensation of peace, intense light, expansion of consciousness, and the perception of being outside the body, observing everything with clarity. These people report meeting guides, deceased relatives, and feeling an indescribable, unconditional love. Many say they didn't want to return. The pain was in the body. The peace was in freedom. For those who went through this, the certainty of the soul's continuity became unshakable. In modern physics, scientists like Amit Goswami and Fred Alan Wolf propose that consciousness isn't located in the brain, but is a dimension outside space-time. Death, therefore, wouldn't be destruction, but a transition from one vibrational field to another. Physicist Goswami says, consciousness is the ground of being. It does not die, it only changes form. Seen through this lens, the idea of death as an ending loses all meaning. Matter dissolves, but essence moves on. Just as water becomes vapor, the soul continues its dance in the invisible. Science is beginning to catch up with what mystics have always known. The Tibetan tradition of the Bardo Thodol, known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, describes in detail what happens after death. According to Buddhist masters, there is a moment of intense lucidity right after leaving the body, when consciousness sees its true nature. Then it goes through different stages where emotions, attachments, and learnings emerge in the form of visions. This process lasts about 49 days and prepares the soul for a new journey. The goal? To learn, release, choose the next step consciously. There is no heaven or hell, only consciousness recognizing itself. Eckhart Tolle also touches this mystery. He says death is the complete collapse of the ego, and that's why it scares us so much. But in truth, it's the dissolution of illusion. What dies is the character, the storyline, the name. What remains is pure presence. The same state you can access in the deep silence of meditation. According to Tolle, physical death is just the end of form, but being, essence, is eternal. That's why the more we identify with presence in the now, the less we fear death. Because we're already experiencing in life what we truly are. Free, loving consciousness. These voices, spiritual, scientific, and mystical, converge on a single truth. Death is not a mistake. It's part of an intelligent, compassionate cycle. It doesn't interrupt life, it expands it. Remembering what we are doesn't only happen after death, it can be accessed here and now, when we silence the mind and touch the infinite within us. What these accounts and studies reveal is that there is no real separation. The line between life and death is more subtle than we think. And perhaps by deeply understanding this, life can finally be lived with fullness, presence, and courage. At the exact moment the physical body stops working, something happens that most spiritual traditions describe in surprisingly similar ways. Consciousness is freed. There is no pain, no despair. What exists is an immediate expansion of perception. It's as if the soul gently detaches, floating above the body, observing everything with clarity and calm. Many reports speak of a welcoming light, an indescribable sense of lightness. Time loses meaning. Space seems infinite. Pain, fear, and the weight of density disappear. And all that remains is a profound peace. According to Seth, in that moment there's a spontaneous remembrance. You remember who you are. The soul, free from the limitations of linear time and constructed identity, immediately accesses other existences, other realities, other planes. It's like waking from a dream and realizing you'd been playing a specific role for a while. Attachment to the name, the body, the life's script dissolves. What emerges is full consciousness, vast, loving, awake. There is no fear because recognition is instant. You didn't die, you simply crossed a doorway. And on the other side, everything was already waiting for you. Some souls report going through a life review, a kind of holographic panorama. But it's not an external judgment. It's an internal feeling. You relive your actions, your choices, your impact on others. And the most surprising part, you feel everything you made others feel. If you hurt, you feel their pain. If you loved, you feel their love. This isn't punishment. It's expansion of consciousness. It is total empathy. It's you deeply understanding the role you played. And from that understanding arises a sincere desire to evolve, to do differently, to keep growing toward the light. In this initial moment, beings of light also commonly appear. Spiritual guides, soul friends, deceased family members. They don't come to judge, but to welcome. Many times they're the same ones who were with you before incarnation, helping you plan the life you just lived. And now, they receive you with unconditional love, honoring your courage for having lived everything you did. Because incarnating is an act of bravery. And returning is a reunion, a silent embrace between souls who know each other beyond time. In that instant, everything is belonging. In some traditions, this first post-death moment is called the Great Silence. It's a sacred pause between worlds, a kind of soul breath, where there are no demands, no rush, only presence, only being. In this space, many souls choose to remain for a while, contemplating, integrating, floating between memories and subtler planes. Each soul has its own rhythm. Some move quickly to the next stage. Others stay there, savoring the relief of carrying no weight at all. And all of them, without exception, are enveloped by an indescribably loving energy. The instant after death, therefore, is not the end. It's the beginning of a remembrance. It's like taking off tight clothes after a long day and breathing deeply. It's meeting yourself again, what you've always been. And in that moment, all the anguish of life makes sense. Every pain reveals purpose. Everything that seemed confusing now fits together like pieces of a cosmic puzzle. You realize you lost nothing. Nothing ended. Everything was necessary, because death isn't an interruption, it's a return. And when you remember that, even the fear of dying turns into wisdom for living. Over the last decades, thousands of people around the world have reported intense experiences after being clinically dead for a few minutes. These are the so-called NDEs, near-death experiences. And although they happen to people of different cultures, religions, and ages, there are common elements that repeat with surprising precision. Leaving the body. Observing the physical environment clearly. The tunnel of light, the overwhelming feeling of peace. And most impactful, the sensation that that place, not earthly life, was the true home. Many of these people return transformed, with a new vision of what it means to live. One of the most famous accounts is Anita Moorjani's. After battling terminal cancer, she had an NDE in which she left her body and immersed herself in a space of pure light and love. There, she realized all the fear she carried had made her body sick, and that self-love and forgiveness would be the keys to her healing. Upon returning, her body began to regenerate in an inexplicable way. In a few weeks, the cancer was gone. Today, Anita is an author whose books help thousands understand that real life begins when you lose the fear of death, and that loving yourself can even heal the physical body. Another deeply moving case is Eben Alexander's, a neurosurgeon who, after a deep coma caused by meningitis, had a spiritual experience that challenged everything he believed. He, who didn't believe in life after death, described being enveloped by beings of light, feeling a connection with the source, and experiencing an infinite cosmic intelligence. According to him, there were no words to translate the love he felt. And more surprising still, his brain was completely inactive during the experience, suggesting consciousness can exist outside brain activity. That changed his life and his purpose. Many reports describe encounters with angelic beings or spiritual guides. These presences don't speak with words but transmit thoughts and emotions directly. There is no judgment, only welcome. What surprises those who return most is realizing they weren't being evaluated by an external force, but by themselves. Consciousness expands to such a point that the being sees itself with total honesty, and instead of guilt, what is felt is compassion, as if the soul finally understood that each mistake was an attempt, and each fall a step on the journey. Many also report being given a choice, to stay or to return. And almost always the choice to come back is tied to love for someone or a mission not yet completed. These people come back different. They lose the fear of death. They change their priorities. They become more present, more connected, more compassionate. Some abandon traditional careers and dedicate their lives to sharing what they experienced. They no longer see life as a race for external achievements, but as a sacred opportunity to evolve and serve. And that transforms everything, including the people around them. These accounts aren't isolated fantasies. They're real, deep, consistent testimonies that challenge the materialist view of life. They're portals of remembrance, seeds planted so that, even without physically dying, we can remember something much greater is waiting for us. But more than that, something greater is guiding us right now. When we listen to these stories with an open heart, something inside us awakens. And maybe, just maybe, these accounts exist to remind us that we don't need to reach the end to start living truthfully. Eternity already pulses in every beat of your heart. When the soul crosses the threshold of death, it is never alone. In virtually all NDE reports and according to countless spiritual traditions, beings of light await on the other side. Some call them angels. Others, guides, mentors, or counselors. Some recognize the presence of familiar souls, family, friends, old loves. They don't appear with physical bodies, but are immediately recognized by their frequency. There is no doubt. The reunion is intuitive, telepathic, and profoundly loving. It's as if the heart remembered a home forgotten long ago and finally returned to it. These spiritual guides don't judge. They welcome. According to Seth, these beings are part of an invisible support network that accompanies us before, during, and after incarnation. They know our soul plans, our chosen challenges, and the purpose behind each pain. When we return, they help us remember. The life we lived wasn't random. It was a specific chapter of a much larger script. And they were there, behind the scenes, holding our hand in the moments we thought we were alone. They don't interfere without permission, but they guide with silent, eternal love. Many of these guides participate with us in preparing for incarnation. Before we are born, in higher planes of consciousness, our soul chooses whom it will meet, what lessons it will learn, and what kind of experiences it wants to live. These soul pacts are evolutionary commitments made with lucidity and courage. And when the earthly journey ends, those same guides are there to receive us, listen, and help us integrate everything we lived. The reunion with them is marked by an indescribable feeling of gratitude, because ultimately they are expanded parts of ourselves. In some reported experiences, there is the presence of a council of light, a group of elevated consciousnesses that helps us review the incarnation. It's not a tribunal. It's a mirror of wisdom. They show us where we acted with love, where we strayed from who we really are, and what we can learn to keep expanding. The most impressive thing is that, even in the face of difficult or painful choices, there is no reproach. There is understanding. Everything is seen from the soul's perspective, where error doesn't exist, only experiences, growth, and learning. Every step of life is valued as part of a great sacred mosaic. Beyond the guides, there's the sensation of merging with a greater presence, what many describe as the Source, God, or the All. This experience is one of absolute love, impossible to describe in human words. It's the moment when the soul temporarily dissolves into unity, feeling at once unique and completely part of everything. It's the apex of spiritual remembrance. At this point, any pain lived on earth loses importance. All that remains is gratitude, surrender, and peace. This fusion is the greatest balm for a tired soul, and the greatest reminder of why it's worth returning and continuing to evolve. Knowing we are received with so much love completely changes our relationship with death. It stops being punishment and becomes a sacred crossing. We're not heading into the unknown. We're going back to what we already know, to those who already love us. When we grasp this, something inside relaxes. And more than that, we start living with more consciousness, knowing that every encounter, every challenge, every pain has a purpose we agreed upon. No one crosses our path by accident, and no one leaves alone. We are all connected by soul ties, and those ties endure even after the last breath. When you truly understand that death is not the end but a transition, your way of living transforms. You stop postponing dreams, stop living on autopilot, stop maintaining soulless relationships. The urgency to savor each moment increases, not out of fear, but out of gratitude. You start to see time as sacred. Every conversation, every hug, every sunrise becomes a miracle, because you understand that everything is fleeting. And precisely because of that, everything is precious. Life isn't a race to avoid death. It's a unique opportunity to savor existence with soul. This awareness also dissolves fear. The fear of loss, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment. When you know nothing truly dies, you realize you can dare more. You can love with more surrender. You can make mistakes and start again. You can be authentic. Because in the end, everything you do here is part of a larger process. And you'll always have new chances, new bodies, new paths. The soul is eternal. And with that understanding, life stops being a battlefield and becomes a field of possibilities. You start living less for survival and more for expansion. Understanding death also changes your relationship with others. You start seeing people as souls on a journey, not just as everyday characters. You realize conflicts are sacred encounters, that pains are soul agreements, that even those who hurt you may have agreed on another plane to challenge you to wake you up. This doesn't mean romanticizing suffering, but understanding everything has context. This vision brings more compassion, more empathy, more presence. You stop reacting with anger and start asking, what is this situation here to teach me about myself? Death also teaches us to let go. Let go of control. Let go of people. Let go of old versions of ourselves. Life is made of cycles, and the more we resist symbolic deaths, of the ego, of attachments, of social roles, the more we suffer. When you open yourself to consciously die every day, you renew yourself. You allow yourself to be born again. Every ending becomes a new beginning. Every loss, a reorganization. The soul strengthens itself in impermanence, and impermanence, when accepted, becomes peace. There is nothing to fear, because nothing is truly lost, only transformed. Life is change, and to change is to live. Living with awareness of death also brings purpose. You start asking, what do I want to leave here? Not in material terms, but in impact, in memory, in essence. You understand that every choice builds an invisible legacy, that every act of love reverberates, that every word can heal or hurt, and that your soul is here to experience, yes, but also to contribute. This understanding elevates the everyday. It makes even simple tasks shine with new light. Because everything, when done with presence and intention, becomes sacred. You start living as someone who honors their own eternity. And perhaps the greatest gift of this understanding is this: you stop looking for wholeness out there, because you realize the true home is within. That the peace you expect after can already be lived now. That death isn't the happy ending. It's the reminder that real happiness is in the present moment. Knowing everything passes is what allows us to love without fear, to live without regrets, to create with freedom. Death then stops being the terror hidden in the dark and becomes the silent teacher who shows us what it really means to live with soul. Now you know you've died before, and you will keep on living beyond what the eyes can see. Death isn't an ending, but a reminder that all that matters is the love you live now. If this message touched something in you, like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to remember we're not alone. Tell me in the comments, what do you feel when you think about death? And in the next video, we're going even deeper. You'll discover why your physical pain may be speaking directly to your soul. See you there, from heart to heart.